Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Soviet Russian Bear, and I'm back with Evalion and Cody. So, so I think we should start with the new wave of this hysteria against Russia, and I mean, for how long do they have to repeat that the Russian meddling and that even everything gets blamed on the Russians this time? Even those Arab nations, and they split with Qatar, it's also blamed on Putin, on Putin's hackers. I mean, what the hell? When is this gonna stop? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It's the new Cold War, or it's probably just a continuation of the Cold War.
No, that's not what it is. It's when people cannot take responsibilities for their actions, or to get out of when they've been caught in scandals, so they automatically blame the Russians.
Yeah, it's just easy to use the Russians as a scapegoat. It's so easy.
Yeah, absolutely, and even the election. I'm actually surprised. How didn't they play the Russian meddling card in the UK election?
Well, I don't know. I guess they couldn't think of a way to inject Russia into there because there was literally no Russian influence to be found.
That was before it became popular.
Yeah, and people actually. I can hear people saying that Trump is a absolute Russian plant, and they play this Russia card just each time people are trying to say something about Donald Trump. Although I think if his stamp.
Yeah? You have mail. Okay. Put it on the table, please. Huh? Put it on the table, please. Sorry about that.
Okay, but I'm start noticing that each time someone says anything about Donald Trump and his policy, Russia always gets brought up. I mean, they bring up Russia just out of nowhere. I mean, it's just anyone says something about Donald Trump.
It's really ridiculous. They say Trump is a Russian plant, but yet he's like trying to start a war with Russia, it seems like.
Yeah, and in Syria, and what he did in Syria, I think that that should have destroyed all of illusions of Trump being some sort of Russian agent or a Russian plant.
I think that's why he did it.
Yeah.
But it didn't even work, because they still call him a Russian plant.
And how I called her Louise Untermensch. That was great. Yeah. So, I want to ask you, Cody, and you, Veronica, what do you guys personally think of Alexander Dugin's Eurasianism? Because I have seen people on the right saying that Eurasianism is just Bolshevism in neo-Bolshevism 2.0 is disguised communism, or others saying that it's all Jewish and it's a Jewish project and Jewish plant.
It's a geopolitical strategy, and nothing more, nothing less. These people are experts. They know how to make conspiracies out of nothing. In fact, they must have way too much time on their hands.
They're only thinking about racial. When they hear Eurasian, they think, oh my god, they're trying to make everyone half Asian.
No, that's freaking Sinead McCarthy saying that shit. It was only Sinead.
It was so funny when you changed your name to Eurasianist Bear.
Yeah, because I really because I want to trigger and to troll her, and I changed my name to Eurasianist Bear because I just want to trigger those who are saying that Eurasianism is some sort of Jewish Soviet communist conspiracy. But speaking of our enemies, Well, you guys both know that Zbigniew Brzezinski, is an architect of Atlanticism and of anti-Russian, policy. He died recently. I'm not
Oh,
exactly trying to mourn him, but still, the guy was behind almost everything. He was behind the support of the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. He was behind the coup in Ukraine to some extent. Well, because it
oh,
was actually his idea that Ukraine should be at all costs separated from Russia, because as he said, without Ukraine, Russia is not an empire, is not a superpower. I mean, well, actually, current events actually proved him wrong. Russia can be a superpower without having Ukraine in its within its borders. I mean, on
It's
the
morally symbolic to not have Ukraine.
well, actually, if we speak about Ukraine, Ukraine was always, especially during the Soviet Union time, Ukraine was always more of a burden to the Soviet budget than it's actually, well, it actually was 50-50, but still, the Soviet government invested in Ukraine way more than, say, in the Russian Federation, in the RSFSR, Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, when this is how Russia was called during the Soviet Union.
I believe they invested so much because Ukraine is very fertile. It's very good land for growing wheat.
Well, yeah, Ukraine's soil is just legendary. When Hitler was when Hitler invaded the Soviet Union, the National Socialist Germany actually um, they took a lot of Ukrainian soil, just trainloads of Ukrainian black soil to Germany. Have you guys heard about that? No.
no, I did not hear about that.
No, but it doesn't surprise me. The the soil is great for growing wheat.
Yeah.
Well, in Germany isn't that bad at all. I don't know why they would need to.
On the Rhineland, it's good.
Well, and speaking of again, speaking of Ukraine, it's actually they recently have banned Russian social media, social networks like VK and Russian search engine Yandex. So Ukraine is just going full retard, full censorship.
He's cutting out.
One sec, your webcam is freezing.
Oh
And
yeah,
now we can't hear you.
you can. It's something like, oh, it's
Are you
lag.
there?
Yeah, I'm here. So
Yeah, it's lagging.
The last thing we heard is that they cut off the Russian social media.
yeah. They cut off VK.com. They cut off Yandex and Mail.ru and other engines, search engines. So it's really funny how.
Well, then that's obvious that they have something to hide if they don't want people to converse with Russians.
Yeah.
They're hiding something.
Yeah, and it seems to me that soon Russian-speaking people who have relatives in Russia, they are going to be persecuted by the Kiev authorities for just being Russian, for just having relatives inside Russia, and for speaking Russian language. It's really kind of getting so intense. I mean, and I just don't know what to say. Are Ukrainian citizens gonna just take it? They just not gonna do something about it?
No, I think they will. When it gets really bad, they're gonna get really angry, and you'll find some more Western Ukrainians wanting to go to the east to escape that tyranny.
Yeah, and you see, I I just I just I'm completely against Putin or Russia sending its troops to Ukraine. And those citizens of Ukraine who are waiting for Russian tanks to liberate them should basically forget it, because it's not. I don't think it's not our fight. So what we just send tanks? Yes, the Kiev government is gonna be defeated, but later on, those Ukrainians are gonna call us occupiers, not liberators. I mean,
the Ukrainians themselves probably won't if you're liberating them from a tyrannical government. The Western media will say, oh, look, they're invading poor Ukraine.
yeah, but still, Ukrainians themselves are so brainwashed. They really believe that Russia, annexed Crimea and that it's actually the Russian army fighting in the southeast of Ukraine. While it's not, it's the rebels, it's the local rebels. Maybe, yes, there are some volunteers from Russia, but also from other parts of the world. So, what is their point? There is no Russian regular army.
There is none. The whole concept of Ukrainian nationalism is stupid. It's all just about, we're not you, Russia. We're Ukrainians. That's all it's about. That's the only thing it's based on. It's not based on anything else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The word Ukraine, what does it mean?
It's
Borderlands.
Borderlands, yeah.
What?
Well, it was actually divided between Poland, Polish, Lithuanian Commonwealth, and the Russian state, and the Russian Tsardom. Yep. And it was called Borderlands of Poland and the Russian Tsardom. So,
they've never had an empire. They've never been, solitary until recently.
Yeah, they didn't have an independent state until 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed. Well, still,
the creation of Lenin, they were not even independent, slightly autonomous until the Soviets gave them autonomy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely, and they just and they hate Lenin so much. They hate everything that is associated with Lenin and with the Soviet period of their history. But it was actually Lenin who founded who gave them autonomy.
He actually gave them too much autonomy too, I think so.
I agree.
Almost that they were a separate country.
Yeah. And also, what is funny, that people like Sinead McCarthy, they support Ukrainian nationalism and Ukrainian Kiev government, although they just don't know the history of Ukraine at all, or they know but pretend because they are, but pretend they don't know because they are so anti-Russia.
Yep, they care more about being anti-Russian than anything else.
Basically, when she was responding to Nina Byzantina in her video, and she said that a lot of Russians are just Jews.
Yeah, she pretty much thinks all Russians are Jews. That is so ridiculous. There's millions of Russian people, and there's always just been a small section of Jews. It's always been very small. But nope, they all must be Jews.
Well, and basically, it is an insult to me from hearing people like her saying that Christianity equals Judaism. It's so stupid. Christianity is not Judaism. I am myself an Orthodox Russian Christian, and I have to say that nobody hates Christianity more than hardcore Zionist Jews.
Well, when you make that argument with them, they'll bring up, well, they're playing both sides. They're playing loving Christianity and hating Christianity. But that doesn't make any sense.
Somehow the Jews will screw up their own plan, just like they control the United States and they control Russia. Right? Somehow they're trying to screw up their own plans.
This is the reason why you're not getting a lot of people, this is why white nationalism is not going mainstream, because of stuff like this. This is why, I do not want to call myself a white nationalist. I don't want to be associated with this insanity. I used to kind of buy into it too, but after thinking about it, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but because you can't blame everything whatsoever, anything whatsoever on the Jews. I mean, just, I fell on a banana peel. It's probably Jewish fault. My coffee got
the Jews The bananas.
Yeah. My coffee got cold in the morning. A little Jew did it.
Well, that's not what's ridiculous about it. The ridiculous part is they think two countries that hate each other, right, trying to screw with each other, are both Jewish controlled. Only one can be Jewish controlled. Either Russia is Jewish controlled,
Either the
or the United
United
States is
States.
Jewish controlled.
And then they
So
will,
which one is it?
They
Yeah.
will link you pictures of Putin standing beside Jews, right, as like proof that he's best friends with them. How is he supposed to be a leader without doing business with Jews, since there clearly are a lot of powerful Jews out there?
Yeah. And there is actually a Jew who was, who...
I'm doing an interview.
Yeah. There was actually a Jewish guy who committed fraud in Russia. I believe his name was William Browder or something like that. And he said, despite that, just because Putin attended a synagogue, just because Putin made some rabbis, and just because Putin met Netanyahu and Putin was at a Wailing Wall, it doesn't make him a friend of Jews. I mean, and as a counter argument, he said that Putin, a lot of anti-Semitic right-wing people are admirers of Putin, and Putin.
But here's the thing about Putin too. He's not anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
He's a leader of Russia. He's not the next Hitler.
Absolutely.
No, he doesn't like Jews deep down. He's like every other Russian. Most Russians have a historical hatred for Jews. I don't believe he's not anti-Semitic.
Well, I also have maybe not hatred, but some sort of distrust for them.
My point? Yeah. It's a historical part of Russian history. Like German history, there's a historical distrust. And like every other
culture will distrust the small minority that is kind of off to the side and not really integrated into the rest of your community.
They don't trust the Jews because because most Europeans are Christian, and Christians have a distrust for them.
Yeah.
But
But
doesn't really seem that way nowadays.
That's because not too many people are Christian anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
I actually
the Christian church started to really embrace multiculturalism and other religions. Like, we're all one, guys. It's all a big family. That's kind of the direction that the Christian church, at least Protestantism, is going today. But in the past, they were a lot more vicious. They were a lot more... They had crusaders. I mean, what about the Crusades? Most modern Christians don't even know about it, you know?
Yeah, except for those who are traditionalists and anti-Islamists or something. Well, I have to say that Russia here, Orthodox Church, it's really good that after the 7 decades of atheism, it's finally, it finally starts to flourish, and it's reawakening, and gets rejuvenated, because I personally see Orthodox Church as a good shield against the Western, I mean, not the Western, the globalist, the cultural Marxist, propaganda of degeneracy.
Yeah, I see it. I watched this documentary called Sodom, and it was done by Orthodox Russians, and it was pretty good.
It was
very
a Russian
informative.
documentary for the West, for the United States.
Well, it was translated in English, but I think it was for everybody. It was a very informative documentary. They had somebody in Germany interview a gay priest. That was a very interesting part.
Yeah, and do you know this guy, you probably maybe heard about him, but probably not. In St. Petersburg, there is this guy, he's a member of, he's a lawmaker in St. Petersburg. His name is Vitaly Milonov. You haven't heard about him?
I'm not sure. A lot of Russian names just kind of go over my head.
Well, Vitaly Milonov is a great guy. He's against this, he's very, very staunch opponent of this, Western promotion of LGBT agenda. And he spoke a lot of times against the about stopping this promote in Russia, and you see, people in Russia, we don't support gay pride marches. Police is always here because if police is always there, I mean, because if there is no police in Moscow when LGBT are trying to start a LGBT pride march, then just the Russian, the nationalists and the Orthodox Christian activists are just gonna beat them, and the police is there to stop.
Oh, God.
I thought it was illegal.
Illegal what?
Yeah, I thought gay pride parades were illegal in Russia.
Well, they're not exactly illegal, but they are not permitted either.
I think what he means is the people do not permit them.
Yeah.
Well, Russia is still very socially conservative, and a lot of the Western media says, "Oh, they're behind in the times. We got to get them up."
Yeah, and we say, "Gee, thanks, but no thanks."
The Western media says that, oh, we're so tolerant of other people, other cultures, other customs, but then they go to Russians and say, oh, look at them, they're behind, they suck.
Yeah, and I've seen that on the Western media many times because of how they say that, oh, look how tolerant and how progressive we are. We are so anti-racist and anti-homophobic, and look at Russia, how backward they are, how bigoted, how racist, and how intolerant Russians are. And
how can Russians be racist? I don't get it. Well, Russia's like 90% white.
Well, you see, they love to cherry pick some small examples like Russian football soccer fans throwing bananas at black footballers, and they say though, and the Western media say that those soccer fans who throw bananas at black footballs represent all of the Russian people. But soccer fans are still soccer fans. Many of them are racist.
I watched YouTube videos of soccer fans in Russia going head to head, beating each other up. There's like full-on riots. So how is that related to race? What if they were just doing it because they're way too passionate about the sport?
Yeah, absolutely. Also, during Euro 2016 in France, have you heard about these clashes between British soccer fans and Russian soccer fans?
Yep.
Well, in those clashes, actually Russians won.
Mm-hmm. Of course. I prefer hockey. Hockey is my favorite sport.
Oh, how could we lose to Canada? We lost World Cup to Canada. You probably heard.
Yep. Well, you just gotta get better.
No, I like baseball.
Oh, baseball. Well, it's not so popular here, but I guess, well, baseball bats. You see, people, why do you buy a baseball bat? For playing baseball or for something else?
I've never used my baseball bat for playing baseball.
Oh, and speaking of sports, in the 2018 World Cup is going to take place in Russia. Just millions of people are going to come to Russia and are going to see it for themselves, and they are going to get convinced, they're going to be disillusioned, and they will start to realize, oh, everything my media was telling me about Russia is a lie. Russia is not as bad as my media is telling me.
Unless well, you see, when they go to flood into Russia, they're as tourists, and they're going to be around other tourists, so they won't really get to see Russia unless they travel outside the city. But I bet they're going to pull the same shit they did in the Olympics. They're going to make a big deal out of somebody saying that gay athletes shouldn't be performing, and it's going to be something similar to that, and they're going to make a big deal out of it.
They tried to say the hotels didn't have running water.
That's
in the
ridiculous.
Sochi Olympics.
Do you have running water?
Yes, I do.
Well, he lives in a house, probably. Not the motels.
I actually live in an apartment, it's a Soviet style, apartment buildings, like 9-story apartment. That's where I live. I don't have my own house. I live in an apartment.
Close enough.
Mm. Yeah. Well,
Probably still have all the utilities of a house.
what?
You probably still have all the utilities of a house.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. My point was they tried to say that I remember during the Sochi Olympics they tried to say that for the athletes the hotels didn't have running water.
Yeah, didn't they say they didn't have toilets either?
That's just ridiculous.
I find that hard to believe.
The freaking lies they make up.
You're trying to make Russia sound almost like a
third world country.
Yeah.
A backwards third world country. That's what they're trying to make it out to be.
Well, what kind of backwards third world country has such nuclear arsenal as Russia? What kind of backwards third world country develops a new main battle tank? A new fourth generation main battle tank with 125mm smoothbore gun with rounds that can pierce any NATO tank armor, with APFS-DS rounds that can pierce any NATO tank, with guided missiles. Not many countries. Well, the United States Abrams doesn't have guided missiles in their arsenal.
Yeah.
Well,
I think their argument about the backwards countries, they're saying that Russia puts all their focus in the military and ignores everything else.
Well,
that's the thing.
Isn't that what America is doing?
Yeah.
Like, people here, there's so many people who don't even have health care.
Well, like, also, just America puts so much money in their military, but still, the Abrams main battle tank doesn't have guided missiles to their arsenal. I mean, Russians T-series tank have guided missiles. German Leopard 2 have guided missiles. German Leopard 2 tanks have guided missiles to their arsenal. Even Israel.
Oh, that's the new one.
Yeah.
That's the new German tank.
Yeah.
The Leopard 2.
Yeah. But even Israeli Merkava has guided missiles to their arsenal, but the US tanks don't. And the same can be said, not the same, but still, the latest US aircraft carriers and the F-35 fighter, just, I doubt the F-35 fighter is as good as the US, the Lockheed Martin says it is.
Yep. But the US, they have put up the funding for military stuff, so maybe they'll get just as good or make something even better.
Lockheed Martin overprices all their equipment anyway. It's so damn. The reason the US spends like $600 billion a year on this stuff is because all these contractors overprice their equipment.
Yep, and that's due to capitalism.
Yeah.
Things wouldn't be so damn expensive if it wasn't for it.
Yeah.
F-35, there's no way it is that expensive. It costs like $1 billion to buy one.
But it doesn't cost that much to make it. They're making lots of profit.
I don't think it costs $1 billion, but it costs like maybe $500 million.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the recent weapons for purchase.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're arming it with nuclear weapons too.
Oh god, we're gonna have a nuclear holocaust.
They're battlefield nuclear weapons.
Probably.
They blow up cities. Yeah, they are. They're arming it with battlefield nuclear weapons, tactical nuclear weapons.
Probably they're preparing for war with Russia.
That is who it's geared towards.
Seems that way with all the anti-Russian propaganda everywhere. You can't avoid it. It's literally everywhere.
The F-35 is
I say one thing good about Russia. I have one guy online who's accusing me of a million things.
Of what, for example?
Being a traitor, being a Bolshevik, being Jewish. They throw everything at me.
Being Jewish? Well, still.
Yeah.
Fuck. because you saw, I'm actually, I'm so sick of this, of saying that Russia or Soviet Union was the main Jewish powerhouse during the World War II. Well, the US and the UK were way more Jewish than the Soviet Russia. Would you
Yes.
don't you agree?
But no, David Duke and all these other people wrote books about all the Jews in the early Soviet government, so that means that it's all...
Keyword is early Soviet government.
Yeah.
Yep.
Keyword. They always forget to say that. That was the early. That was like the early 20s. By the time Stalin came to power, it wasn't even like that.
Yeah, and Stalin was actually more of a nationalist than a classical, Marxist communist.
He was. He betrayed the original Bolshevik principles.
And
But of course, I can't talk about that because I get a million people freaking out at me. Because they are so sick with their Cold War propaganda.
yeah, well, absolutely. Well, you see, even those historical revisionists who say, "Oh, every war the U.S. participated is a lie, except the Cold War." No, is the official narrative is not lying about the Cold War. All the wars before the Cold War and all the wars after the Cold War, all lies. But when it comes to the Cold War, no, it's all exactly like his official narrative says. I just don't get it. Be
I don't think
consistent.
either.
Be consistent. If you say that the US official narrative lies about all wars, please include the Cold War in this.
But they hate Russians so much, they want the official narrative for the Cold War.
Because Germany fought the Soviet Union, and Germany would never make and Hitler would never make a mistake in his life.
They believe Hitler is infallible, that he's perfect. Well, some people do, not everybody. There's some rational people there that do admit that there's mistakes, but it's rarely that people ever admit that invading Russia was a mistake.
If the Soviets were so interested in destroying Germany, why did Stalin offer peace in 1943?
Yeah, why?
He not only offered peace, but he offered an alliance too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they denied it.
Well, well, speaking of Germans and Hitler, I don't know much about the Third Reich domestic policies, because you see, our history, our history lessons in school are kinda, provide us very, skewed knowledge of it. Um, Basically, when we talk about the World War II, it's more on the Germany's foreign policy, but we don't learn much about the Third Reich domestic policies. So was actually Hitler pro free gun ownership?
He was pro gun.
For the population were allowed to own handguns. But I believe anything bigger than a handgun was banned for the general population.
Okay.
Except for soldiers.
And was actually the Third Reich, was it feminist? What was the situation with the women's rights in the Third Reich?
It was socially conservative as far as women's rights go.
It was essentially almost. It was probably more socially conservative than the Soviet Union because women were not allowed to work, whereas in Stalin's Russia, women were allowed to work.
Yeah.
So it was more.
I saw this really funny video where this old woman in Russia, she says, "I heard Lenin say communism is electrified socialism, so I decided to become an electrician."
Yeah, okay. So, and what was the, Hitler's... I know Hitler policy was, no, it was, very harsh on those minorities, those perverts like homos and pedophiles and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Oh, they were almost all shot when they were caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was They were very against sexual perversion, but a lot of the world was at the time. Even in Russia, they didn't like that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just threw you in a gulag in Russia.
Yeah, yeah, and
Or in Germany, they just shot you.
yeah. What about the social policies like welfare and the social guarantees?
Very socialist, but not as socialist as the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
So like there was some private ownership, but there was a lot of government and state involvement. For instance, there was nationalized healthcare, financial system was nationalized, a lot of natural resources were nationalized, a lot of the corporations were communalized.
They gave young couples a loan of, I think it was 3,000 Reichmarks, and for every kid it paid back 25% of the loan. So it would encourage the couples to have 4 kids to pay it back the whole loan.
But it was still a loan, not just a handout. Not a handout.
Well,
Yeah,
it was an interest-free loan, such as you only had to pay what you borrowed, not more.
Oh.
Yeah, and because when you have a child, it would pay off 25%. You could pretty much get away with not paying it if you could produce 4 kids.
So it's pretty much paying people to have children.
Yeah, and that's good. Well, it's very similar to the Soviet Union social, but still not as socialist.
No, because it was more based on, I think, actual capital, and they didn't socialize everything. There was some stuff that remained private. They communalized some stuff. Like they had workers' councils and stuff like that. Yep. A lot of stuff was way more private than the Soviet Union, where everything was practically state-owned, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah. Everything was pretty much state-owned, and this central command economy. And I basically consider both free market and completely state-owned central command economy. They both to me don't work, but more about that later. So Cody,
didn't it work well in Russia though, having complete state ownership? Russia was able to prosper.
Well, yeah, but still it didn't work in the long run. I mean, the Soviet Union needed reforms. And I think Gorbachev was, many people consider him a traitor, but I don't think Gorbachev was exactly a traitor. I would just say he was too naive. He actually...
Oh, I even consider him a traitor. Because he wanted to, okay, he may have not been a traitor, but he was a retard.
Yeah, absolutely. He was an idiot, and he was too naive to actually trust what the West says at face value. Like, he literally thought that the West wants peace, and the West will allow the Soviet Union to... He really believed that the West is not going to expand NATO to the East.
He was naive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personally, I think he made a mistake. Yes, especially when he let East Germany be absorbed by the West. Because he nearly destroyed Berlin and East Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you see, but Cody, I want to ask you, but what if... I don't like this, what if questions, but what do you think... how could things go? How could World War III have gone if actually the Strasserist plot was successful and the Strasser brothers overthrew Hitler and took power in Germany?
That's almost impossible to tell. I have no idea.
But
I have no idea because the situation was because it goes on so many different factors. You'd have to break it down. In fact, you could do literally an hour video on that.
Wow.
Talking all about that. You would have to take so many
I don't think they would have went to war with the Soviets. They would have accepted the alliance.
Well, first of all, are you talking about Gregor or Otto? You have to define, because they were very different from each other. They were both very socialist, but they also had different kind of policies from each other. Whereas Gregor was just as anti-Semitic as Hitler, but Otto wasn't.
And who of them actually survived after the purge? It was Otto.
Otto, because Otto went on the run.
He went into exile, and he wrote the book Hitler and I, where he pretty much talked shit about Hitler. He was very bitter.
I don't like Otto, actually.
Well, I didn't know anything about Strasserism until I was making an interview with Andrei Arbenz. You know, you made an interview with him too, yeah? I actually made a lot of videos with him, and he said that no, not all Nazis were so anti-Slavic, anti-Russian. There were actually like Strasser brothers, and then I find the Wikipedia article about Strasser brothers and Strasserism. And then I met you, Cody, who is an actual Strasserite, and so I'd rather trust you more than I trust Wikipedia, because Wikipedia can be easily edited by people.
But no, Otto Strasser was not that anti-Semitic. Gregor was just as anti-Semitic as Hitler. Germany Tomorrow is written by Otto Strasser. I know a good one. I know a good little. I have a good PDF of what Gregor Strasser said. Thoughts and Tasks for the Future is by Gregor Strasser.
I'm gonna do a video reading it.
Thoughts and Tasks for the Future? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's only 2 pages. It's pretty quick.
Yeah, and you see, I don't know why people call you autistic. So I'm sorry, but you don't seem autistic at all.
Well,
it's because they're losers with too much time on their hands.
They like to throw the word autistic around to the point where it loses all meaning.
Well, I didn't get called autistic so much, but maybe by a few, maybe 1 or 2 people, but still, I was called anyone, a Kremlin troll, a brainwashed, and being on Putin's payroll or something like that, but not many people called me autistic, actually.
It may not be common among Russians, though.
well, I was called a Kremlin paid troll so many times, like so many countless times. I don't know who actually didn't call me a paid Kremlin troll, although I don't receive any. I haven't received a ruble from the Kremlin, although it would be good.
You're a volunteer.
Yeah, although it would be great for me to receive some money for what I do, but that's not the point of what I'm doing. I'm doing it all for free because I'm doing it at my own will.
Do dollars work? Do dollars work in Russia, or are they banned?
Dollars? No, they are not banned, but you can't buy anything on them. You have to exchange them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I believe the exchange rate is like 30 rubles for a dollar right now.
No, it's actually 56.
Oh, the ruble fell against the dollar. Last time I looked, it was like 30.
No, it's actually now 56. So, well, it would be great for me to get paid from the Kremlin, but I don't receive. Some extra money is never bad. I mean, it's never bad to make some extra money, especially I like what I'm doing on YouTube. I'm doing it for my own, like for my own pleasure.
Me too. I make my videos just because I like making videos. I love producing, no matter what I'm talking about. I love the actual video production.
I'll be right back.
That's why. And there's so many people, they only talk about politics. It's the only thing on their mind. It's the only thing they care about. How can you just make videos about politics? How could you not be interested in other things? Like,
absolutely.
People are so dynamic. You have to have other interests as well. Like cooking and, I'm interested in paranormal stuff. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand these people. Maybe they are being paid to constantly push an agenda. That's why they're always producing the same type of videos over and over again.
Yeah. Well,
or maybe they just have tunnel vision. That they have a one-track mind. They can only think about one thing. But this is really funny. People accuse me of being an autist too. They say I'm autistic. And one trait of autism is having tunnel vision, only being able to focus on one thing. So if I'm making a new video every day about different topics, how am I an autist? Who's the autist here, huh?
Yeah. Well, speaking of cooking, I actually tried to make lemon potatoes by your recipe. Yeah, and it was good. The only difference is that I used, hand squeezed lemon juice and and sunflower oil instead of olive oil. But still, nonetheless, it was just great.
Yeah, it's a very delicious
Yeah, very
recipe.
delicious. Yeah.
I'm getting hungry thinking about it. It's one of my favorites. My mom used to make it all the time for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Basically, I think that hand squeezed lemon juice is way better than what you buy in a bottle.
It is. It's way better.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Just squeeze a lemon, just cut it into pieces and squeeze it.
It's very easy. If you before you cut the lemon, if you roll it on the table and kind of push it against the table, it makes the juice come out easier.
Yeah.
It's one trick.
Yeah. But anyway, both of your recipes are great, and I actually tried to make them both as spaghetti. Well, I actually used the actual tomato paste instead of tomato sauce, and
Yeah, that's way better.
yeah, and actual spaghetti pasta instead of that pasta.
You could use any pasta. It doesn't matter.
Well, and anyway, everybody in my family actually liked the potatoes and the pasta. Yeah. So
that's so awesome that you made my recipes. I want to make a few more recipes.
Yeah. Cooking.
Those two are my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, you should continue to make your cooking videos. It's good. They are good. They're great.
I want to make videos on all kinds of topics. I want to make about history, paranormal stuff, how to do things, cooking. I don't know. I just have lots of interests, and some other people just want to hear about one topic. Okay, then you don't have to watch my videos if you don't like the topics I'm talking about. I have different interests too. I'm not just boring.
Yeah, well, it's great that you actually have many interests, except for, besides politics, I mean. And I'm also...
You can't just focus on politics. I just can't absorb your mind, or else you will just surround yourself with other people who just think about politics, and you will just have a circle jerk, and it's terrible.
Yeah, aside from politics, I also love military, and not just military. Well, generally talk about weapons and military vehicles. Well, I don't know, I always had this passion for vehicles more than the aircraft, and I don't know, I just, I know absolutely nothing about the vessels and navy, just vehicles and a little bit of aircraft. I don't know why. Maybe because...
Well, maybe you could look into the Navy and learn new things, get new interests.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing to do.
Yeah, I need to,
I'm getting really hungry. I haven't ate all day.
Yeah, I also need to expand my knowledge on aircraft and naval stuff. Yeah, but still, it's probably... Well, you also need to read books on other stuff. Basically, people, especially the younger generation, I don't know if they read books anymore.
I read books.
Yeah, and
I just bought a book on ultrasound and the 50 human studies that were conducted in China about the dangers of ultrasound.
For the baby.
So, yep. That's the last book I read. Before then, I read The State and Revolution by Lenin. It's a very interesting book.
Yeah. So, well, Oive, what did you say? You say you read Lenin's book. Oh, I can see people like...
Book, so I must love Lenin. I must be like... I must agree with him on everything, right?
Yeah, according to people like Sinead McCarthy.
But Lenin is quite misunderstood. He's regarded as evil and this and that, but if you actually read his words, he's not that bad. He has this revolutionary spirit that is quite honorable.
Well, I come from the Russia, from former Soviet Union country, and we still have Lenin statues. Well, in um, my town is like 180 kilometers southeast of Moscow, and we still have Lenin statue on our central square. And our central square
Oh,
in my
in Moscow, Lenin is immortalized. He's preserved, so everybody can come and see him.
yeah, yeah.
If I ever go to Russia, that's where I want to go. I want to go say hi to Lenin. I'll take a selfie with Lenin.
Great, that's great.
It's kind of creepy taking a selfie with a dead guy.
Yeah, yeah. Mm. Oh, basically, you made a video about Canada, so still, do you miss Canada or not?
A little bit. I miss some nice little comforts I had in Canada. I miss the scenery a bit, but I I really like America more. Now that if I weigh out the pros and cons, America is way better.
Okay, so I remember you did an interview back maybe a few months ago, but you were lying on a couch and wearing a revealing clothes. And who was the guy who interviewing you?
That was my ex.
Oh, your ex from Germany?
No, my American ex that I never met up with.
Ah, okay.
That was after I broke up with him. It's a long story.
Okay,
It's
okay.
very complicated, but yeah, he pretty much made me do that interview, and yeah, I don't really want to go into too much detail with that guy.
Yeah, I don't need to.
We'll be here all day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, also, Cody,
Yes.
do you know any other, Strasserites in real life?
In real life?
Yeah.
No.
Strasserites are very, small. There's barely any, and most of them just say they're Hitlerians because they want to fit in.
No, most of them just call themselves National Socialists.
I've seen some say I've seen some lie. It's because, if you want to get accepted into that community, if you say you're a Strasserite, they call you a traitor. I don't really care to be accepted into the big online community of far-righters. I don't care about that anymore.
Great.
I don't think I ever really cared about it to begin with, because when I made videos last year, I just wanted to spread information. I didn't want to become the spokeswoman or everybody's favorite girl. I didn't want to. I didn't think anybody would give a shit about me, honestly.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You shouldn't be concerned with, oh, I don't fit in with the crowd. No, you are who you are. You have your own opinion, and if some
Now I'll always say things that are controversial. I'll always go against the popular opinion. And when I'm surrounded by one group, I'll eventually go against their popular opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's how you got popular, by saying controversial things.
But I don't understand how these people can just dwell, just reading Mein Kampf over and over again, and they could just dwell in that mindset. Why don't they go off on different topics? There's so much more to history than World War II.
I just had one that got my Skype and debated with a man. He got utterly destroyed because he didn't know anything about the Third Reich. Yet he was criticizing socialism, and he learned that the Third Reich was actually very socialistic, and he got utterly destroyed.
Yeah, many people, even though whom I consider my superiors and whom I respect very much, they seem very ignorant on socialism. Like Ryan Dawson. Do you guys know about Ryan Dawson?
No.
Well, he's a great guy. He runs a website called ANC Anti Neocon Report. I trust him on what he says about Israel and Middle East and Zionism. But even he repeats the same Cold War cliches about socialism and communism, like Stalin personally killing 1 billion of people, blah blah blah, Holodomor.
They can't make up the death. They can't make up their mind about the death count. Is it 100 million? Is it 10 million? Is it 20 million?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
I've heard 100 million. I've heard 40 million. I've heard 30 million.
It's all over the place. It's worse than the Holocaust. Usually, with the Holocaust, people are just usually say 6 million, right?
Yeah.
It was throughout history. It was 4 million, then 1 million, then 6. But with the freaking Soviet death counts, it's 100 million, 20 million, 40 million, 30 million, 6 million. What is it? How does it jump around this much? How can you go from like 100 million to like 10 million? How does that happen? Where are the mass graves? This makes no sense.
I think they're talking about 10 million. I think they're talking about the Holodomor.
They're just all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 10 million people did not die in the Holodomor. It was about 7 million.
Well,
yeah, but
I think
you can't make the odds up about the numbers.
Well, I think it is this way because you see, Russia has always been a mystery to the West, and when Russia adopted socialist ideology, it became like more isolated from the West, and with the Iron Curtain, you're always gonna fear, and you're always gonna make up something, some fairy tales about something you don't know, or you are not familiar with, or what is different from you.
Yep, and that's what they did with Russia. Exactly. Instead of trying to understand Russian history and culture and what's going on, they rather just talk shit.
Yeah.
It's easier to talk shit. It makes you feel better when you do.
Yeah, and this didn't change even today. Many people still don't understand Vladimir Putin and his politics. You see, people especially the Western mainstream media, they portray Vladimir Putin as some evil, megalomaniacal dictator who wants to take over the world, who wants to destroy the United States, who wants to destroy Europe, who wants to make the world just one global Russia. Are you crazy, people?
That's what they say that Stalin wanted to do. Exactly that.
Well, yeah, this actually starts from this, this hoax, this was confirmed to be fake. The so-called Peter the Great, Peter the Great's, the Peter the Great's letter. Well, this was allegedly written by Peter the Great, the Tsar of Russia, that Russia should rule the world. But it was absolutely confirmed that it was fake and fabricated. But people still believed.
Wow. Well, people don't fact check things or care. They rather just talk shit.
Wait, but they forget all about the quote by Cecil Rhodes. If you know who that is.
Yeah, I know. It was some British imperialist.
He landed in South Africa and he looked at the ground and he said, "The English should rule this earth." He looked up at the sky and said, "This earth should be English." He was talking about world domination.
Yeah, but the English can do no wrong. You can't criticize them. Yeah. You have to criticize the evil Russians.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, didn't he actually accomplish his goal? I mean, the English is an internationally spoken language. It's not Russian, it's not German, it's not French, it's fucking English. Even we right now, we are speaking English.
That's because America speaks English. That's not because of England. That's because of America.
Britain first made it the language of the trade. Then it remained English when the United States became the main power.
Yeah. It's because of America, so you cannot give credit to Britain that is American.
No, Britain did it first when they overpowered France because originally the language of trade was French. Yes.
But then...
Well, still, it remained that way because Americans speak English.
Yes. But it was great. Yes, but my conspiracy is that the British aristocracy, the British oligarchs secretly control the United States. It's my own conspiracy. I don't actually have proof to back it up, but I'll look into it more.
Well, actually, I don't know, but well, I think the United States they have their own like powerful oligarchic clans that they control the United States.
But there's a link between New York and London. The link between Wall Street and London.
And the city of London.
Yeah, the city of London.
Yeah.
And there's a link between the the crown of Britain and the White House. And all these British oligarchs.
Well, I made a meme. Maybe you have seen it. I actually posted in the Facebook chat War on Globalism. Well, Putin in this like Pepe with the green, like Pepe the Frog with the green skin, and behind this green skin Putin, there's actually cross picture of Zbigniew Brzezinski and David Rockefeller, and then to the right of them is Henry Kissinger, Jacob Rothschild, and George Soros. So there, Henry Kissinger and Jacob Rothschild should be next, and George Soros. By the way, speaking of
that's a great meme.
Well, what do you guys think about Hungary?
Hungary is great.
I like Hungary. I've known Hungarians. Hungary's a great country.
Yeah, and their prime minister is also great. Actually, George Soros considers Hungarian prime minister his personal enemy.
He's banned from Hungary.
Soros, yeah.
He got banned. I think he got banned from a few countries: Hungary, Iceland, and Russia. He was banned from Russia too. Yeah. George Soros.
Russia has a bounty on his head.
That's a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not.
I think they do.
It's a Kremlin has a bounty. Yeah, they say he has a 10 million bounty on his head.
I can't confirm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, by the way, speaking of bounties, the guy who shot the Russian student in Maryland, in Washington D.C. Cody, I told you about the Russian student shot dead in Washington D.C.
Oh, there's a bounty on his head.
Yeah, the bounty on the shooter's head. $10,000 or something.
Oh wow.
It's near us.
Oh wow, we should go bounty hunting then.
It's hard. You gotta check his tracks. I don't know what he looks like.
Yeah.
Or anything about the dude. I'll look it up and take a look.
Because you see, this was a Russian student with a Russian citizenship, and he graduated with honors, and he got shot on the day of his graduation.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think it's a liberal. The reason I don't think it's a liberal is because he shot the Russian honor student, and the other guy he shot was a Muslim. So that couldn't be a liberal. That had to be somebody on the right.
Could have been someone on the right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
It has to be someone on the right. If a liberal would never shoot a Muslim.
Absolutely. And you see, why are liberals so obsessed? Why are liberals are Islamophiles? I mean,
well,
I have no idea.
Because the right is very anti-Islam, so they want to just piss off right-wingers. They want to be the opposite of the right-wingers.
Yeah, but don't they understand that Islam, especially the Salafist version of Islam, it completely contradicts their liberal values?
They don't care.
They don't care, yeah.
When do they care about their liberal values? All they care about is what's cool in the moment.
Well, probably because those liberals, and they don't criticize Islam because Islam is a religion mainly of brown people, and probably they just don't want to seem to be racist.
That's not true. That's actually not true. There's Muslims all over the world. There's so many in Asia. There's quite a few in Russia. And then you just always hear about the Arab Muslims because they are more likely to be Wahhabists, and those are the radical ones that are doing a lot of terror attacks.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is just Wahhab. It's actually Wahhabis.
Then you also got the liberals who have experienced with very educated Muslims who are very chilled out. They're part of they're not Wahhabis. They're of the other sects, and like I've used to have a Muslim friend in high school. There there's some pretty cool people out there. So they're a little confused over why they should dislike Islam. They've never read anything in the Quran before. They
Yeah,
only hear from their Muzzy friend that Islam's great. So
yeah, and you see, the Chechen Muslim actually belong to the Sufi branch of Islam. It's it's less, it's absolutely not radical Sufi. They actually play music, and Sufi, they actually encourage, endorse poetry, and Sufi branch of Islam is more, it's more cultural, and that's why Wahhabis hate Sufis so much.
but you can't expect people to understand different sects of Islam.
Yeah,
I only have basic knowledge of it. It's something that's so far removed from people, so alien.
yeah, but
It would be nice to do some more research and maybe do a video on the different sects and
yeah,
what they believe and where they are. Like I know Wahhabists are more in Saudi Arabia,
yeah,
and you got Assad who has a sect. I forgot what his sect is called, but it's very small.
Elowite.
Yeah, they're very similar to Christians.
Yeah, and when when I say remove kebab, I actually refer to Wahhabis, to radical who want to wage jihad, because people say, when people think some people think that if you say remove kebab, you mean all Muslims, but no, because the origins of the meme remove kebab is actually comes from Serbian civil war, and you see Bosnian Wahhabis, they committed actually more atrocities than Serbs or Croats.
Yeah, but you don't hear about that. I should probably make a video about that.
Yeah,
That would be very interesting.
yeah, about the Yugoslav war, because people still don't understand, Yugoslavia and the war that Yugoslavia was doing pretty well when it was united, and well, actually, Yugoslavia embraced a form of socialism, which was not it's not as hardcore, state central command as the Soviet socialism was, but still, it was not a capitalist like. Well, the Yugoslavia was non-aligned. They didn't. They weren't part of NATO or the Warsaw Pact, but they still had ties with the Soviet Union and with the West as well.
I see.
And
It's very interesting. A lot of people don't know this stuff.
yeah,
That's what I like doing. I love proving people wrong. That's what really drives me to do videos. Just proving them wrong, teaching them something new. That's all I want to do.
yeah, and that's also the reason why I started making my videos, because I just want to, to counter the Western, mainstream media narrative, but not like on the big scale. That's what we have Sputnik News and RT for. Just on an individual level. I mean, I'm just some Russian citizens who would like to tell it like it is.
Mm-hmm. And that's great. You could disillusion people and make them distrust the media even more than they already do.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone who fully believes the media. Even old people still kind of get that the media kind of sucks. They've always sucked.
Well, old people are a little bit more, susceptible to brainwashing, like old people and the teenagers.
Yeah, definitely. The teenagers always rebel, so there's always hope there.
Yeah.
They'll rebel against their held beliefs and what's being conditioned around them.
Yeah,
That's what we're
that's
seeing now with a lot of young nationalists. I noticed that this generation is being attracted to radical ideas really quickly. I see a lot of them, they're either going very far left or very far right.
Yeah, because when you're young, you want everything or nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's kind of that kind of freaks out the people who are in power, because if young people are getting attracted to revolution, that's bad for them. That's really bad. They want people pacified and not caring.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're kind of in a panic right now.
Well, yeah, and when you started this, being a nationalist and started to make your videos, and you also, was you were very rebellious, and you were just did you start making your videos to also to rebel, to counter what is being shoved down your throat?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was just sick of my boyfriend at the time was kind of socially liberal, and we would argue about stuff as I got more conservative, and I really felt like rebelling against not just what he believed, but I understood that he was saying those things because that's what it's taught in school, and I didn't like school.
Well,
I know. You know what they did to us in grade 8?
what?
We had a homosexual rights activist come in the classroom and say, "Stand in that corner if you support gays. Stand in that corner if you don't." And almost everyone went in the support gays corner except for me, a black kid, and my friend.
uh if a gay rights activist attempted something in Russia, he would be in jail.
Well, then the whole class and the gay rights activists tried debating us, and it was just really ridiculous. They were trying to change our opinions. It was, oh.
Well, you probably were not as experienced as you are right now.
No, I didn't know the statistics to bring up. So the only thing that I would argue is that it was unnatural and weird, and that they're a small portion of the population, so why should we care?
Yeah, absolutely. But you see, but well, right now you would have probably debated him harshly.
No, I would have freaked out and be like, "Look at this spokesperson here. This spokesperson for 2% of the population. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why do we have to learn about 2% of the population? Oh, there could be some students here that are gay. Yeah, there could be 2% of the population. I would have really dug that in.
Yeah, that would be absolutely correct. And you.
And then when they made emotional arguments, I would have pointed out that's an emotional argument. It's not based on fact.
Yeah, but you told that actually you were kind of outcast in school, no?
It depends. When I was in elementary school, I went to 10 different elementary schools because I moved around schools a lot.
10?
Because my mom would get into fights with the teachers, or tell me she didn't like one teacher, or she wouldn't like one parent, so she would move me schools. So I ended up moving around all the schools in our area, pretty much. And we also moved houses quite a bit as well, but that was later on. Every school, there was only 2 schools I went to where I felt like an outcast because of I was the only white person, right? But in high school and in the schools I went to that were mostly white, I was kind of popular. It seemed like half of the class was like my best friend and the other half just didn't like me. So I had a big group of friends, but there was always like opposing force, you know?
Yeah. Well,
I kind of split the class up.
and you said you were the only in one of the schools. You were the only white person in the class.
Yep, that was in Scarborough.
And how did that feel to be the only white person in the class?
And in my first early grades, I was one of the only white people because because I lived in Markham, Ontario, and that's a mostly Chinese area, and it felt really weird being in Scarborough because my classroom was mostly made up of blacks and Arabs. I just kind of felt really out of place. Like everyone's eyes was on me. I was the only white girl. When they were talking about stuff, I couldn't relate to them because they were talking about the Quran and stuff. Like I can't relate to this. I had no idea what that is. I was like a little kid.
Oh, yeah. It's probably felt very weird.
I've had kids call me Whitey before.
Oh,
I had a kid say that I was ugly for having light hair and that I should dye it black.
wow,
That was a Chinese kid.
wow.
Oh, a black kid also said something similar. So, they say that you can't experience racism when you're white, but it does happen when you are just the only white person. And you're in a group of children, and those children are gonna, they see you're different, and they're not gonna like you because you're different. When I went to the first school I went to in grade 1 to 2, I used to tell people that I was half Japanese or half Chinese.
They said half Chinese.
Yeah, half Chinese, I would say. Just to fit in with the Chinese kids.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I'm half, so I'm actually just like you, but I'm a little bit white.
But you actually not. You actually have Polish, have...
No, I have no Chinese in me, but I felt like I had to lie because, I also didn't really know my dad. He had black hair, and when I saw him, he was always wearing sunglasses because it was summer. I only saw him a few times when I was really young. So I thought it was a possibility he might have been Chinese because I didn't think white people could have black hair.
My dad is from Silesia.
Well, is he Polish or German?
Well, he's from a predominantly historically German area in Silesia.
Yeah, but that area has been taken over by Poland.
Yeah.
So
we don't know.
He calls himself Polish because that is what they were taught. They had the German heritage kind of stripped from them.
Well, and your mom is French-Canadian?
Yeah, but she's from New Brunswick, which had quite a significant Irish population as well. My grandma has Celtic blood disease, so she's pretty much pure Irish.
But your last name sounds very French.
That is because I did not take my dad's last name, which is a Polish last name. I did not take it. I took my mom's last name, and her last name was my grandpa's, and he was adopted by a French family.
Oh.
Yeah, so he took the adopted family's name. So that's not really my last name.
But your father's last name is actually Polish, yeah?
Mhm. Yeah.
So you don't remember how does it sound?
Ends with a ski.
Oh. So you actually have Slavic blood, a lot of Slavic blood in you. You look pretty Slavic.
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, that Silesia also the town was at the border of Poland and Germany, but there was also a significant amount of Germans there too. I guess it's kind of a mixed area.
Well, you actually look pretty Slavic. More Slavic than German. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I wanted to get my DNA tested, but, it is expensive. Cody doesn't want me to get it done, right?
No, I just don't want to do it right now.
It's $80. That's a lot.
And and Cody actually, you look some kind of mix between German and Italian.
I have 10% Italian in me.
And other?
It's a bit more.
What? Alpine, German.
No, Scottish, right?
Scottish.
Scottish, not Irish.
Well.
And you're Russian?
What?
Are you pure Russian?
Well, actually, yeah. Maybe some Finnish blood. I don't know. But still, my mom looks very like pure Russian. Well, while my dad, he actually has this black curly hair and brown eyes. I look more like my mom than my dad.
Actually, you have the same nose as Vladimir Putin.
Really?
Yeah. And I swear, I think Vladimir Putin is Finnish, or has a lot of Finnish blood.
Or he's Kazakh.
What?
Or he's from the Caucasus.
It's because he's short, and that's usually not a Slavic trait.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, they're usually tall.
Like my dad's tall.
So I think he might be like Finnish, or I don't think he's pure Russian. I think he's from. I think he has Russian blood, definitely. Has a lot of Russian blood, but I think he also has something else in him. Putin.
Well,
Yeah.
I actually I idolize my father because he is an Afghanistan veteran, a paratrooper. He taught me many things: how to stand up to bullies, how to be like, how to be manly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Afghanistan in the 80s.
Yeah.
And you're fighting the Mujahideen, yeah.
Yeah, he was fighting in Mujahideen. He was a paratrooper, and he was like in very tough, shootouts with them.
That was a disaster.
Well, yeah, for the Soviet Union, it was indeed a disaster.
Oh, it was a disaster for us too.
Really?
Oh yeah, the United States going to Afghanistan, a total disaster. It was almost the same thing, except I think the Soviets went harder on them than we did. The Soviets, I think they came at them with attack choppers, tanks, heavy numbers, and they still weren't able to win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hardest you can go on them. That's a world superpower going against the Afghans, and you still weren't able to win.
Well, USA is also unable to win. The Taliban is not defeated.
Yeah, because they freaking hide in the mountains and the valleys, and you can't get them.
I actually heard interviewed some people from Afghanistan, and they were saying that the Soviets, the Russians, had more honor than the NATO. Because NATO prefers drone strikes, and the Soviets prefer to fight up close.
Actually, it'd probably be more useful up close, to be honest, because you can't strike somebody with a drone inside a cave.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And you see, nobody successfully conquered Afghanistan. Nobody, no power. The British failed.
The British went in. They came out of the mountains and slaughtered them. I don't think the U.S. has even really tried, to be honest. Not hard enough. We could do better.
Yeah, and
we went after Iraq pretty hard.
But still, Iraq, Saddam Hussein. Well, Saddam Hussein was actually a U.S. CIA puppet. It's it's already a fact that
he was at first. Then he said "fuck you" to the CIA in the United States and decided to lead Iraq his own way.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. He was placed in the power by the CIA and the United States in general. It doesn't always work out, though.
Well, yeah.
As they discovered.
Well, Gaddafi, I like Gaddafi way more than Saddam Hussein. Gaddafi was actually, well, he created something that at least can be called Arab National Socialism, Arab version of National Socialism.
Yeah, I like Saddam Hussein. This is the reason I like Saddam Hussein, because Saddam Hussein had a very, very, very tight grip on Iraq. Or the fact is, what's happening in Syria and what happened in Libya could have never happened in Iraq. They had to literally invade Iraq to get rid of him because his hold was so tight. He was so strong.
Yeah, but Gaddafi.
And Iraq was so strong.
Yeah, and look now what's going on in Libya after they overthrew Gaddafi. Libya is a mess.
Literally slavery.
Yeah.
Gaddafi was a good guy, but his hold wasn't as strong as Saddam's. I wish his hold was strong. My goodness, I wish Assad's hold was stronger, and his hold just isn't as strong as Saddam's was.
Well, yeah, if it wasn't for Russia, then Assad would be overthrown 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean. His hold is very weak. If Iraq was still around, Saddam would have never allowed this to happen in Syria.
The UK Parliament wants to take away Assad's wife's UK citizenship.
Really? I thought they have already done that.
No, they're trying. It's kind of hard to take citizenship away from somebody.
Yeah.
Countries like that, it is.
Yeah, just I wish Russia could take away citizenship from Alexei Navalny and other so-called opposition. In fact, they are not opposition, they are fifth column, they are fucking traitors. I don't know why Putin doesn't send them to Gulag.
Oh yes, that's right, you still have the Gulag system. Well, they're really just prisons, right? Yeah. They're just really rough Russian prisons. I was telling Veronica about them, that we should have those prison systems in the United States because they're pretty effective.
Well, you guys actually have something similar to that. It's called private prisons. No?
Yeah, but our prisons though are very, very luxurious. They're not rough. Yeah, they're not rough. You're not worked with hard labor, and it's not miserable.
You just sit on your butt all day, miserable.
They do make you work, but it's pretty. They're very comfy. They need to be they need to be more like the Gulag system or the Russian prison system, where it's rough and it's miserable, where you don't want to go there.
Maybe people wouldn't commit crime then.
Yeah, the crime rate would probably go way down. Yeah.
It would suck to get arrested for something you didn't do though. Get thrown there.
Speaking of
that just stops people from but it further stops people from committing crimes. People that are going to commit crimes.
Yeah. Speaking of crimes, I mean, I as a Russian person, I don't just get it. I can't understand it completely. But what is wrong with the communities of color in the United States, or Black, Latino community? Why do they commit so many crimes? That's what the statistic tells me.
Everyone has been theorizing about that within the right and the left.
There's
liberals, conservatives have theorized about that.
Liberals say it's because of socioeconomic status.
Liberals believe that people commit crimes because they're poor.
And why? I'm in a poor white area. Why are the white people here committing lots of crimes?
But yet West Virginia itself is the poorest state, one of the poorest states in the country, right? Right? It's poverty. Appalachia, it's just poor. It's poor as hell. It's in poverty. It's worse than some cities, some of these inner cities. Yet it's all white, and yet we have a lower crime rate than, let's say, New Jersey or New York City.
Yeah.
How does that happen? That means it has nothing to do with being poor, or rich or middle class.
But then some people say that people of color, other people say that, racists say that, people of color are more criminal because of their race, which is also not true.
It has to do with aggression. You have a 80% black city in Cuba, Havana, right? And the crime rate there is very low. It's a very safe city. That's because they have a lot of police patrolling the area.
No, that's not why. It's not due to the police force. It's due to the culture.
Yes,
the blacks in the United States have a big gangster culture that has been developed by Hollywood.
The gangster rap.
Yeah, the gangster rap, the gangster culture has been developed in the black community.
Yeah, crimes have to do with aggression, and the gangster rap and gangster culture encourages aggression. They say being aggressive, being mean, and a criminal, that's cool. So you have all these young black kids doing stupid, petty crimes, and
that's why their crime rate is so high.
And you also gotta take in the fact that they also in the U.S. they have police officers in these black areas arresting people buying weed. That also puts up the crime rate.
I'm sure marijuana. They have marijuana in Russia too, and they have it in Europe too, Veronica. Yeah, the crime rate isn't as high.
Yeah, but the Americans are more aggressive at pursuing pot smokers.
Well, Russia is way stricter on the drug control, and we should be more and more stricter. And you see, I don't know any person who actually smokes cannabis, but drug control should be stricter. And although we have made a lot of progress and a lot of success in stopping the heroin traffic from Afghanistan, but the synthetic drugs, these are the problem.
Like LSD, heroin, crocodile.
Actually, I have to go soon.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I gotta work.
Yeah, I gotta go to work.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we should now wrap this up. It's been like over an hour or something like, yeah, and it's been a great pleasure to talk to you guys. just this hour and a half maybe. This it was not spent in vain. It just I always like to talk with people.
Really hungry.
Yeah, I always like to talk to people who are intelligent and who can support a conversation. And you guys certainly are of those people. Yeah, so I hope we meet again. Oh, 1 hour 53 minutes. Jeez. Yeah. So yeah. Bye. I hope to see you again. Bye, Veronica. Bye, Cody.
Bye.
Bye.